To use another football analogy, it's time for the game to finally take a knee. This was said by Paul Frensman on the Edmonton Journal in the 30th of April 2020. Today I'll be talking about why prohibiting kids from playing contact football from ages 6 to 12 is necessary. I'll be continuing to talk about two types of problems, health and long-term effects, and continuously transitioning into causes and ending off my speech with some solutions. Today I'm going to start off with talking about my problems. With problems I have as number one, health issues. So, from Stephen Folk on the Asbury Park Press in the 7th of April 2018 says, studies show that exposure to tackle football before the age of 12 is associated with greater risk of neurological impairment. To start out right away, my first problem is health issues. We see that right away there's a greater risk when you're associated in these type of contact sports. Now these type of contact sports, you're going head to head at an age so young that your nervous systems aren't as defensive as when you're older. So these issues are going to affect you way more than as if you're playing professional football at the age of 25, 30, as regular pros do. And to transition into my second problem, long-term effects. From the Daily Mirror on the 11th of April in 2016 says, football can cause micro damage that builds up over a lifetime, and children's nervous systems were not as well protected as they are still developing. So as what I said kind of a bit before, our nervous systems as a kid from ages 6 to 12 is not as developed as it should be. Now, this goes into my second problem, long-term effects mentally and physically. If one is getting hit by the skull at a young age, obviously that's going to build up over time. As the Daily Mirror says, it causes micro damage. Now, we don't know how severe this can be, but I'll continue to talk about how, at least the minimum that I can reach at. You see, if a kid is hurting themselves, breaking a leg, something like that, mentally it also affects them too. If they're breaking a leg at such a young age and they're growing up to maybe their parents want them to play football again, they're not gonna want to risk that. They're gonna be feared. They're gonna fear the same feeling they got when they got hurt. And that makes sense. You see, long-term effects physically also affects you mentally. If you're getting your foot broken at a young age, let's say that affects you for the rest of your life, or you can't play football anymore, or you can't bend your leg a certain way, it affects you mentally because you'll be scared to use that foot. So now I'll be going to some causes of these problems. Started off from Barry Sanders on the Detroit Free Press on the 24th of January in 2016 says, wow, one question comes up more than any other. Should I let my child play football? So transition into my causes. My first cause is parents signing their kids up for this sport. As I said, from Barry Sanders on the Detroit Free Press, should you let your child play? Now, I have parents as one of the main causes for kids getting this type of injuries because they sign them up. It's their kid that they're signing up. They see the papers. They see the type of injuries that could happen. You see, we know that competitive parents like to see their kids thrive in the same sport that they once played at their age. But at one point, when does it become enough? I feel like nowadays, if it doesn't affect you, it doesn't matter. In this type of perspective, this type of generation. And we see that parents are still funding these type of companies that allow contact sports like football to have revenue and continue to play on and fund the type of sport. Now, we have different alternatives. We have flag football. We have other sports. Contact football, head-to-head, skull-to-skull, where you're bouncing off each other, getting concussions here and there, is not necessary. It really isn't. And these parents, yes, they have awareness over that, but they don't understand, they don't care how bad it is until it affects their child. When it's their child who's getting hurt, or when it's their kid on the floor with a concussion, that's when it becomes a problem. Now I'll continue talking about, I'm continuously talking about the parents because I do think the parents are what to be blamed for mainly. But to transition to my second cause, is the sport not restricting certain enough contacts with the kids? So to repeat that, the sport not restricting a certain amount of plays that can happen with these type of ages of 6 to 12. Paul Stewart on the Sunday Mercury of the 30th of December 2017 says, that's not to say they can't play, but they should strongly consider banning heading at certain ages. So I think this is a perfect reason why I put causes as the sports. So you see, they consider it, they say, okay, we should probably do this, we should do this, but they're not putting their foot down and actually committing to restricting certain plays in football. Like Paul Stewart says, they should consider banning heading at certain ages 6 to 12, where, you're barely growing, you're still developing. So it's very dangerous to get hurt at that young age. But see, the sport is not doing enough. They're not doing enough for the kids' health, and understanding that, enough is enough. To transition finally into my solutions. In my solutions, I will be going over three. I will go into what the government can do, what parents can do, and what can I do as myself as a person. To start off with the first solution, we have Michael Warrior from the Nationwide West News on January 29th of 2021. He says the government has to realize that they will have a huge problem with the way the league has been handled and will return to play with many concussion protocols, which, if they are not done, have caused people to die in the past. So right away we see that these type of concussion protocols that were not enforced before have caused people to die. And I don't know how that doesn't create enough awareness for these type of sports for the government to do this. But like I say, number one solution is what the government can do. As Michael Warrior says, these type of concussion protocols are now being enforced after they see these type of deaths, these concussions at a young age where these kids are developing, health issues mentally, physically, in any type of way. The government sees that and they understand that now, and they're trying to put type of protocols. Now to my second solution, it's what the parents can do. Now I talked about the parents a lot, what the causes or why these problems are happening. I blame them. I put the causes on the parents, and rightfully so. They're still funding this type of sports. But from Christy Valentino on the USA Today Press on the 30th of July in 2016 says, parents should look more for non-contact sports, especially for children at a young age. See, at the same time, in this type of quote, you can blame the parents again, but at the same time, this is a type of solution. It's an eye-opening solution. These parents can start looking for their kids to enroll them into a sport where it's not as head-to-head, it's not school-to-school, concussions everywhere, we're at a point where people are dying at a young age. These parents can understand that even if they played football as a kid or their kid loves watching football and they want to do the same thing, maybe put that aside. They can, when they're a bit older and they're more mature to make that type of decision to play those type of contact sports, that's when they can have that type of conversation. But for now, the parents should restrict their kids from playing contact sports. They can go more into a bit easier sports like volleyball, stuff like that. Now, lastly, I have my final solution. What can I do? So I myself am my soccer coach, and I understand that kids get hurt here and there. Kids slide at each other, they push each other, and it's very restrictive. But at the same time, I also myself need to understand that these parents need to be told what their kids are getting into. So to conclude it off, I talk about many solutions, many causes, and many problems about prohibiting kids from playing football. And that's about it. Thank you.